Hi everyone, it's Miss Thompson here again, going through part two of nominalisation and writing analytically. Part one was really looking at the process, how you actually nominalise and what verbs and nouns are, and having a look at some examples, like it was a science example and a example from King Lear, and applying the nominalisation process to that. To those examples. So now we're going to look at the V for Vendetta examples, and it's going to give me some opportunity to give you some feedback about your essays as well. So what I'm going to be doing, I've got three examples, and what we're going to do in them is change the verbs to nouns and have a go at rearranging the sentence in a nominalized and then writing in a nominalized form, and then applying that writing analytically formula that I've been talking about so much. And I just want to say about that you don't have to do every element of it all the time, but you definitely have to have technique, evidence, explanation like that, or you have technique, evidence, explanation, and then you realize that the sentence is too long, so you break up the explanation a bit. But it really keeps you honest in terms of making sure you're hitting the performance standards, making sure you're answering the essay question, because as you may have noticed, the essay question is in the structure of technique, explanation. So your essay question should be answering in a similar structure, okay? But like I said with the nominalisation stuff last video, you want different rhythms and cadences to your writing, okay? You don't want it to sound too monotonous. So there's a nice level of rhythm that comes with this sentence structure, but if it's the exact same structure every single sentence, then it sounds too monotonous. So I'm not saying this is the formula that you write every single sentence, but knowing what the good elements are of a sentence, or what the elements are of a sentence, gives you more ownership and power to do things in your own writing. Okay. So I thought someone was going to come in this classroom. Okay, so example one, V, and these are just examples of drafts. They're not exactly people's draft lines, but they're kind of common types of lines that I'd be seeing in drafts. So I'm not picking on any one person. It's just kind of the common types that I'd be looking at. So V is acting as a catalyst for change, as he is influencing the people into listening to himself and his beliefs. Okay, that's a sentence that's quite descriptive, and I'm not actually sure, and it's definitely descriptive, but as we go through it, we might see that it's probably a bit clunky and needs some revision as well. So I've highlighted the verbs acting, influencing, and listening, and I've changed them into nouns. So action is the obvious noun version of acting. Influence is the obvious noun version of influencing. And listening I found more difficult, and I don't know if I was just having a mental blank or what, but I just found what's the noun version of listening? Listen is still a verb. So I think I typed a range of words that made me go, well, what does listening look like? What's the product of listening? So I said attention, recognition, impact, insight. But a really good thing to do is actually just go to your thesaurus.com. I don't know, some people might bag it out. I've heard people bag it out before, but I don't care. I think it's good. It's not like it's just a little tool to help you keep on track. The other thing that's really good is it tells you if it's a noun or not. So, and the dictionary does the same thing. So, but the thesaurus is good because it gives you lots of different words. Though, don't be like Joey Tribbiani and friends who was trying to use the thesaurus to make his writing more clever. And in writing a letter saying that his friends were going to make good adoptive parents because they had a heart, he ended up talking about the left ventricle and arteries and all sorts of stuff. So he was talking about the anatomical version of heart as opposed to the emotional version of heart. So just be sure that you understand what that word means when you're using it. Don't just kind of shove words in, because then you look a bit silly. So that kind of helps me come up with some nouns. that are a version of that verb. So what I've just noticed though is when I've been looking at it, I'm like, well, these kind of things are very similar to influence. So am I just repeating myself too much? So I've had a go at using this in using these nouns. Sorry, highlighting wrong column. So I've come up with the impact that these actions have made on the citizens of London present how an individual can be a catalyst for change. And then writing this analytically, McTeague's portrayal of these actions and their impact on the citizens of London convey how an individual can be a catalyst for change. So once again, I've got that explanation at the end, though that it doesn't always have to be at the end, but it's just a really, when you're getting into it for the first time, it's really good to kind of structure it like that. But as you can see, I'm using portrayal is referring to the technique of characterization. So I'm talking about technique implicitly there, and I've got a lovely descriptive. All right, so example 2, when Evie is reading the note and sees Valerie's words, it describes hope as something we must never lose it or give it away. We must never let them take it from us. It shows that the key to surviving is hope. So that should be highlighted as well because that is a verb. So these are the verbs that I've put down when reading, describes, and surviving. And as I've said in the other video, when you see words like when, immediately signpost that you're starting to describe. So make sure you don't use those words and you remove them or change the sentence accordingly. So I've just removed it because I'm like, well, I'm actually really talking about the impact of Valerie's words. I don't actually need to talk about Evie at all. So I've taken reading out as well. And scribes has become description. And as I was thinking about this more, and I've said the point of is Valerie, I've started to, I don't know if I spelled declaration right, but I started to think, well, is it a description or is it something more? So, or something, can I use a more specific word? So I came up with declaration. And then I've used this nominalized line. So I've just used description. And survival is here, so I think I changed it up a bit. Valerie's words are a declaration about hope in that we must never lose it or give it away. We must never let them take it from us, as it is through this hope that society maintains its humanity or society maintains its survival. I think I might have put survival there and realized it sounds a bit weird, so I ended up changing that entirely. So can you see how it's a really good revision tool because it actually makes you restructure things and get more to the point of what you're saying. And then I've had a go at writing analytically. So McTeague shows how Valerie's words are a declaration of hope in that we must never lose it or give it away. Her plea that we must never let it take it from us conveys that it is through this hope that society can maintain its humanity and wage a struggle against oppression. And so what's really powerful about this is that I've just gone, this quote is too long and I could break it up to be more analytical. So I could have said Valerie, please, but I said please. So see how that's another nominalized version. And then I've got this explanation below. And then the final example that I've got is the use of Valerie's montage shows us that she wants someone to listen to how integrity sells for so little, but it is all we really have. It is the very last inch of us, but within that inch we are free, which shows how principles are needed when the world is corrupt. All right, so I've highlighted here where I can see my verbs. So wanted, listen, and needed. And then I've come up with, and I just use this table, but you can just use pen and paper next to you or another document, whatever you need to do, or even the draft itself, and then you kind of delete it. But I've just come up with questions of, well, what is the noun version of wanted? Is it like the wish? Is it desire? Use a thesaurus if you need to. And then with listen, I've come up with recognition, understanding, compassion, empathy, and it's kind of, get a bit of speed writing, getting to the actual point of what it is that I think Valerie's doing here. And then I've got needed, and I've just turned it to need. On this column, or like, do I need to phrase it differently? Am I getting to it? Am I getting to the main meaning of what I'm trying to say? I've actually gone, do I need this? Is it more that I just want to talk about the importance of this statement? All right. It doesn't matter that it's a desire. It's more that it's just really significant. And then I like these words. So I want to use them, and I'm probably going to use them in my explanation a bit more. So that can be really helpful. So the normalized version is the use of Valerie's montage shows the significance of one's honor because our integrity sells for so little, it is all we really have. It is the very last inch of us, but within that inch we are free, which shows the need to remain true to one's principles and remain understanding and compassionate in a corrupt world. So I thought that maybe the quote could be way more fluently embedded here. And then that would give me, if I'm writing about 2 quotes, then I have more opportunity to explain and go into more depth. So I've said in Valerie's montage, McTeague emphasizes the significance of honor because our integrity sells for so little, it is all we really have. It is the very last inch of us. Therefore, in a corrupt world where freedom and liberty are restricted, the preservation of one's principles and values mean that within that inch, we are free. Okay, so it's just, as you can see, the sentence elements of the sentence structure are there, but they're not in every sentence, and I've kind of had to play around with it. And breaking up that quote, paraphrasing it so it's not a big slab, allows us not only to fluently embed the quote better and it's less clunky, it's actually also giving us an opportunity to go deeper in our layering of our analysis. So hopefully you found this really useful, and good luck with your essays. I can't wait to mark them.